Howdy gamers, today we are going to be going over NavMeshes and pawn sensing. So to start, we are going to set up the NavMesh bounds volume. We go up here to this top button that says quickly add to project, click it, go down to volumes, and select NavMesh bounds volume. This will add us a little volume box that we are going to drag down onto the floor. Once we put this on the floor, it will generate a box. This green space is all of the space that the enemies can move within. So we are going to stretch that for as far as we want. We can stretch this as far as necessary. We will use this for now. But when it comes to anything that it's overlapping with by these walls and whatnot, we can adjust that by going to Recast NavMesh Default and go to the Agent Radius. We can lower this if we want them to be able to get closer to the wall, or we can make it larger if we want them further away from the wall. I think a happy medium is probably somewhere around 45-ish, so it gives a bit of space while also keeping them away from the wall and keeping them from getting stuck on corners. So, now that we've set up this nav mesh, let's go ahead and make an enemy blueprint. We'll go to Blueprint Class and click on Character, and we'll call this BP underscore enemy patrol. We're going to double click on that to open it, and it'll bring up this. It starts with a capsule, character movement, mesh, like a spot for the mesh to go, arrow component, etc. We're going to first go to the mesh, and we are going to grab a skeletal mesh asset that we already have in here. Maybe different for you if you're working on a different project, but we are going to grab the bat-rigged skeletal mesh, which will look like this, our spooky little fellow. So first we want this to orient in the direction of the arrow. This arrow will show you which way you are supposed to be facing. It is this arrow that is right here. So we are going to rotate this to the right. And then we are going to swap from perspective to front, just so we can see how this lines up with our capsule. As you can see, we are very above the capsule. So we want to take this and move it down. Why is it moving left? There we go. Don't know why it didn't let me grab the blue one at first. Now that we're here, you can see that it doesn't quite fit his size. So we're going to go to Capsule Component, and we are going to increase the radius a little bit, and then we'll increase the height a little bit to get to about there. Then we'll take this again, and we'll move it down to fit the floor once again. Then we can go back to perspective to see how it looks from the side. As you can see, we're a little bit too far up, so we'll move it back slightly, just to get his entire face within the capsule. Compile, save, and now we get to the fun part of NavMeshes. So we're going to delete the Eventer Actor Begin Overlap and Event Tick. We don't need those. All we will need is Event Begin Play. Before we do that, let's make the functionality that this event begin play is going to call. We are going to right-click and create a custom event. Add custom event. We're going to call this enemy patrol. You can call it whatever you want as long as you remember what it is. We're going to drag off of this, and we are going to get random location in navigable radius. This will get a random location within that nav mesh that we had set up earlier. We will say 1000 for this case. We also want the origin of the actor location. Get actor location. This will be self in this case because this is the enemy. And we are going to return value here. So it will be a random location with within 1,000 units of the location of the actor being the enemy. Then we are going to drag off of this, and we are going to AI move to. This will bring up this, which we want to connect our random location node into destination. And then on success, we are going to call the exact same thing. We are going to call random patrol. Or random patrol? Wasn't that what I called this? Enemy patrol. Realistically, this should be random patrol, because this is a specific random patrol and not a patrol that's going from point to point, which I will show how to do in just a moment. So enemy patrol is going to call, which will restart this and go back into finding another location in navigable radius. Now, at the moment, there's nothing that's calling this code, so it's not going to do it immediately, which is why we want to drag off of event begin play and also set up another enemy patrol. We compile there. We also want to get a reference to self. So the AI that is moving knows that it is itself that is moving. Now we should be able to compile save, drop this little guy into the scene, and click play. He's moving around, and he's using his default speed. You can adjust the speed if you would like as well. We can even set it to be a lower speed here. We could be drag in character movement, drag off, and get set max walk speed. We can set this to a lower speed. We can set it to around 200. Drag from here into here, and then here into here. And this will adjust their speed to be a little bit slower. Now we click play. We turn. And there they are. They are walking around like a dubious little fellow. Alright, now that we've gone over that part, there is another thing that we can do. So, as for this AI move to tool here, there is another way that you can use this. It doesn't have to be a random location. If you go down to variables and then set a variable, let's say 0.1, and you change the boolean to a vector, you can also duplicate this so you have multiple points. We'll call this 0.2, and then compile. You will see that down here in the bottom right, it says default value, and then the point that it is, and then a location. So, for this, you can make 0.1 one location, 0.2 another location. You can make the event begin play call a specific patrol. For example, if we were to go AI move to copy that, let's just copy that entirely. Let's move this down here and make a separate code. Let's organize this a little bit. So for this one, we want two specific locations. We can drag this location, get 0.1, drag here. On success, let's make another copy of this. We're going to drag out this comment to make it fit all of this a little bit easier in just a minute. So on success, we are going to move to get 0.2, 0.2. Honestly, I want this one to be the regular patrol and call this one enemy patrol. So we'll cut that here, paste it here, connect that there, enemy patrol. And then up here we can call either enemy patrol, or we could say call random patrol. We'll make another custom event for that. Add custom event, random patrol. Connect this here, delete that, change this to random patrol. It will work functionally the exact same way. And then this one down here we are going to call set patrol, or we've already called it set patrol. And it'll go from one point to another. Currently, these points don't actually do anything. This point here is set to 0, this point here is set to 0. We are about to change that. Up here, we are going to disconnect enemy patrol, actually connect enemy patrol. Enemy patrol is this new code down here. And now we're going to set up the points. So right here, we want this guy to go from one point to another. So let's put in some points. So we have the sphere. We will put a sphere in random location. It doesn't really matter. So it's in that location now. We want its collision to be nothing. We don't want anything to collide with this. So we'll say collision, no collision, And then in terms of visible, we'll select actor hidden in game. This is just going to be a location to move to. This is not going to be anything but a location. So we are also going to copy it, paste it, and move another point over here. Also actor hidden in game, also no collision. Very easy to do. Now that we've done that, we want to copy the location. We go up to transform, right-click location, click copy, and then we'll go back to the blueprint. Now that we're in the blueprint, let's go to point 1. Point 1 here, we're going to paste. Now we have a location in the default value. Let's compile and save this. Specifically save that. And then we are going to go to the other one, right-click the location, copy, go into BP Enemy Patrol, go to point 2, then we're going to paste here. We're going to save, compile, save, and then we should be able to play this, and they should walk between these 2 points. So we turn around, and they are going from one place to the other and back again. So that's how those nav meshes work. Now we want to show off the patrol, the pawn sensing. We are going to add pawn sensing right here. But now we have shown off random patrol and set patrol. The next patrol, well, it's not going to be a patrolling thing, but it's still going to be an AI move to command. What we are going to do is we are going to make it where, when pawn sensing sees us, they are going to swap from what they were doing to chasing us. Alright, now we're going to jump into pawn sensing. So, for that, we're going to head back here. This is what our pawn sensing currently looks like. It is a large sphere, it is very big, but since it has full peripherals, they're basically just seeing from the sides. If we change our peripheral vision angle to, let's say, 45, this is now their angle of sight, specifically the green. The hearing is an entirely larger radius, and then there's just a sensing interval further than that. Sensing interval is probably not the right word to use for this. I forget what specifically this yellow box is. I have not used it. But this is their hearing radius, this is their sight radius. We only care about sight radius right now. So, what we want to do from this is we'll scroll down here, and there is an event right here that says on see pawn. We are going to click plus from here. This will bring us to event graph, where it'll bring up on see pawn. This will be the pawn sensing here. Pawn sensing, we are going to move off of this and go to AI move to. And then we are going to set the pawn that is moving to self, reference to self, drag that in here, and then we want location. So, because of the fact that we had get actor location set into destination, this is only going to go to this location and then stop. What we actually want is to connect the pawn to target actor so it continually chases us. If we compile and save this, we should be able to demonstrate this. I do want to move our spawn a little bit further, so we have a little bit of a better view of the situation. So we see them going from point A to point B. If we walk here, get in front of their line of sight, now they are chasing us, and they are not going to stop until they catch us. Once they catch us, they will stop again. What we are going to want to do is we are going to make it where we want a delay of 2 seconds, and if they do not catch us, we want them to go back to some other patrol. We could do random patrol, we could do the back and forth patrol that we were doing earlier. Let's call this one just the enemy patrol. So if they don't catch us in 2 seconds, they'll go back to patrolling. So actually, that's my bad. We don't actually want a regular delay here. We want a retriggerable delay. And we want it to, if they do not catch... If they do not catch us within 2 seconds, we want them to go back to patrolling. If they, after this retriggerable delay, this will allow on-sea pawn to retrigger, so if we are not out of their range within 2 seconds afterwards, they will be able to see us again and continue to chase us. So, if we go back into this, we could click play, we jump right in front of them as soon as we can, they're going to chase us indefinitely. After 2 seconds, they are not going to see us anymore. Oh, right, I think I'm going out of the NavMesh radius. Yep, and then they went back to where they were going. I'm pretty sure I just walked out of the radius was the problem. Whoop. Yeah, they were literally just going to the edge of this radius. Let's make this a little bit wider just to show this off a little bit more. I was wondering why it was doing that. But yeah, that's probably fine. This should just chase us around in circles for as long as necessary. If we were any faster, or for example, we have a dash here, we can get to the edge of, like, the radius, and then after a couple seconds, they will have to go back to their normal path. Regardless, we want to do another thing with this. We want to make it where they are slower than us initially when they are doing the enemy patrol, but that they speed up after on-sea pawn. So, from enemy patrol, we are going to set, as we did earlier, the character movement and walk speed to 200. We'll bring that down here. We can just copy-paste it because we already have this made. And then, down below, we are going to want to change that movement speed to a higher interval. Let's change it from 200 to 400 just to show, like, the difference in speed. So we see them running back and forth here at their 200 pace. And then we're going to get in front of them, and we're going to see a notable increase in speed. See? They went significantly faster than they were doing earlier. And then, after a couple seconds, they go back to their normal patrol path. So that's basically how NavMesh and patrolling works. There's still a lot more that can be done about this, but this is 3 different ways to use NavMesh patrolling. So, we have the event begin play, which starts the enemy patrol, or we can make it be the random patrol as well. We have the random patrol, which gets a random location within the radius, and then has the AI move to it. And then it sets back to random patrol again. We have the set patrol, which is the enemy patrol that sets a speed, then moves you to 1 point, then moves them to another point, and then resets and moves back to the first point. And then we have pawn sensing, where whenever you walk within this cone that the pawn sensing has, they'll chase after you. Then after 2 seconds, if you are not directly in their sight after 2 seconds, they will go back to the regular enemy patrol up here. Hope that this was helpful. Feel free to leave any questions below. I can answer any questions necessary about NavMeshes and pawn sensing. And I hope you all have a great rest of your night. Like and subscribe if this helped you.